2023 general elections have been rated by analysts and observers as perhaps the most keenly contested yet in the nation's history. The beauty of it all was the uncommon enthusiasm and patriotic zeal displayed by voters on election day, indicative of a craving for a new Nigeria through the process of the ballot. We promised a review of the polls, and this episode of 30 Minutes is a fulfillment of that promise. Welcome to 30 Minutes on the NTA. I am Mitaire Ikpen. As always, the clock is ticking. Not even the heat of the sun or the drench from the rain that thundered on election day in parts of the country could deter eligible voters from exercising their franchise during the general elections. Lydia Sampson brings us a package of the resilience of the Nigerian electorate during the first round of the 2023 general elections.
Nigerian citizens brace all odds to exercise their franchise in an election globally seen as one of the most keenly contested in the history of the country. Accolades have been resonating across the country, with different observation missions commending Nigerians for turning out en masse to exercise their civic responsibility. The perseverance and enthusiasm of eligible voters are noteworthy despite visible challenges in their polling units. In parts of the country, some were drenched in the rain while waiting to vote or waiting for electoral materials that were delayed due to logistic challenges, but these did not dampen their resolve to exercise their franchise.
Not even the rain can stop us.
Similarly, others braved the scorching heat of the sun, even in polling units with large number of registered voters with their PVCs, all in a bid to elect new leaders through the ballot. In many polling units nationwide, Nigerians peacefully took the initiative to organize themselves and allot numbers for orderly queues while they waited patiently to vote.
No, I didn't encounter any problem with my beavers because as soon as I gave them my card, they found it on the register, and then they put the beavers on my face and it showed that I'm the same person, and it ticked good on its own.
I don't think there's any security issue here, as you can see. We don't have security issues.
The conduct so far has been so good.
Described as an unprecedented show of patriotism and determination to make their votes count, the youths, women and the physically challenged turn out en masse on election day. Worthy of mention is the consideration accorded nursing mothers and pregnant women as well as elderly on queues. Many describe it as heartwarming to see a lot of aged people, some in their 90s and above, who came out to be part of the historic election. In a particular case, a man obviously ill was brought to his polling unit assisted by nurses just to cast his ballot. More commendable is the fact that many of these aged Nigerians stayed on designated queues for the elderly at their various polling units till the exercise was concluded. Ironically, in some polling units, the late arrival of INEC officials led to the late commencement of accreditation and voting, with attendant effect on the collation and counting.
Sixty-eight, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73.
These generated diverse opinions with concerns that something should be done about it going forward. The confidence of electorates on the beavers, which observers believe contributed to the large turnout, is seen as a positive outcome of the election. The deployment of technology raised the hopes of the electorate that their votes will count, especially with assurances of immediate upload of results from polling units to INEC's results viewing portal. The malfunctioning and in some cases stealing of this critical technology in some polling units constituted a challenge in the opinion of observers.
The issues of vote buying. The Situation Room received reports indicating attempt by political actors to engage in vote buying. We commend the security agencies for swift action that they have done in terms of apprehending suspected perpetrators of vote buying.
Yaga Africa observed that the beavers was deployed across all polling units. In 3% of the polling unit, Yaga Africa observed the deployment of 2 or more beavers devices. In 98% of the polling unit, the beavers had 0 record for the total number of the accredited voters on the beavers before the commencement of the process.
What exactly accounted for the massive turnout of voters and the display of patriotism by Nigerians on election day?
The people now understand that casting their votes is all about being peaceful and exercising your rights.
I think the 2023 election is an improvement on what we've had before now. And I think we have gone a lot ahead.
Since 1999, this is the first election, peaceful, no violence, and it try because the beavers they try. This moment, any politician is not ready to work. After 4 years, going back to his house.
It shows that people are thinking. People will now know, even the people who were elected, will now know that people elected them. If they did not do well, people will just reject them.
This election is different from previous election because of the reforms that has come to play, and also because of the determination of Mr. President to make sure that he bequeaths to the nation a credible, free and fair election. So far, there have been reforms that may not have been really in harmony with the citizen, but already is bearing fruit. We are now seeing the normal tradition of vote buying and people maiming or oppressing or disenfranchising other electorate from voting, although we have some isolation cases in some places. But beside that, 85% will say, I've done right. And from the attention and the determination of the electorate, where even where they have skirmish in some polling booths, they come back and continue voting.
In my personal view, INEC has done creditably well this time. They've done very well because of the new innovation about beavers. You can see that, like other previous elections, we have ballot box snatching, toggery and here and there, but from what we gather from the field, just very few cases. I can confidently say that the technology has really helped in this election. And going forward, I want INEC to build on this so that it will serve as an example for the African countries. But INEC has really done well.
Beavers is the best. Fast, clear, and simple.
In several polling units, the election went deep into the night, yet Nigerians stayed on to ensure the conclusion of the process. In Magodo area of Lagos, patriotic Nigerians who got to their polling units early in the morning reportedly stayed till 10 p.m. when INEC officials finally arrived.
The beavers can be increased in a polling unit that is over 1,000 voters. It will enable the voters to cast their vote as early as possible and get back to their respective homes. But certainly the voting system here, the voting pattern here is so encouraging, and I am so happy about that.
For a very long time, we've not had the 3 major tribes being front runners. We used to have them in the time of Awolowo, Azik, and the rest of them. But for in this dispensation, this is the first time. This is the first time we are voting our conscience. For me, Many of us have discarded party affiliations. We want to vote for the future of this country.
It's unique because there is no money. You cannot dabaru anything. And well, there is no way you can do any 419 or any other things to divert somebody's attention. Or you rig. There is no way.
So we urge everybody to join hands so that we make sure that the vote of Nigerians will count, so that we make sure that the right steps are taken and we get it right at this point in time.
We call on Nigerians to remain calm, work with INEC.
So I'd call on everyone to be responsible, to be patriotic, to put the country first.
There were videos of instances where good-spirited Nigerians brought power-generating sets to power the Vivas machines or to provide illumination for the exercise in some places where voting spilled into the night. That the electorate now believe in the power of ballot was obvious. Though some cases of violence were reported in some parts of the country, experts note that the courage and determination displayed by the citizens speaks to the fact that power truly lies with the people and is a lesson for politicians to match words with action going forward.
Truly, power lies with the people, and Nigerians continue to receive commendations for keeping faith with democracy and the power of the ballot. Now, some aspects of the electoral process may not have gone according to plan, such as delayed accreditation and voting in many polling units, for which INEC tendered apologies. But what is the way forward, particularly with the use of technology? Let's hear more from Thomas Ogbetere.
Different permutations and predictions pervaded the political landscape before the 2023 general elections. However, the enthusiasm by the electorate to participate in the poll, especially from the youth, cannot be overemphasized. Several analysts have described the 2023 Presidential and National Assembly poll as an election of upsets and surprises. There is, however, mixed reactions regarding the deployment of logistics and security during the election, how it affected the process. While most security experts and election observers note that the election was relatively peaceful, they believe there is so much room for improvement in future elections.
As an election umpire, I expected INEC to have taken adequate care of logistics. I say this because during the elections, I am an observer. I observed on the JDPC Caritas. And I noticed election materials arrived very late. And I also moved around, and I saw that in some locations, even when they arrived in cars that were not in good condition. Now, you also need to be aware that in Nigeria, it can rain anytime. And it did rain on the 25th in some locations, and heavily too. So aside from logistics, you are also mindful of the fact that some roads will not be accessible even when they are in good condition in dry seasons. When rain comes, there could be a problem. So you need to take care of every little details because election is serious business.
The security challenges was very minimal because the security agencies were up and doing, and they followed strictly the provisions of the Electoral Act in whatever they were doing. So we will not really say there's a massive security challenge. It was very, very minimal. And that is why, as at today, you see that everywhere is peaceful.
Yeah, there are many challenges. But despite that, in some parts, the elections went free and fair. And beavers work. Police were up and other security agencies were out. But why there are some cases where the beavers did not work, and snatching of ballot boxes and all that take place, which now characterize where many Nigerians are now calling for cancellations of the elections. But my view as strategic expert, what happened, the loss or the gain, the loss is not enough for us to totally say the election should be cancelled.
Just like some of the election observers, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, identified some security glitches such as voter intimidation, snatching of ballot boxes, and destruction of beavers' machines, which he described as the latest tactics by desperate politicians.
Issues arising from the commencement of the process in Abia, in Imo, and in Kebbi, among other places.
Nevertheless, political analysts and electoral observers want the law to take its course from arrest to prosecution of electoral offenders to serve as deterrent to others. They urge the electorate not to be deterred from participating in the governorship and state houses of assembly elections, as there is need for sustained enthusiasm.
The concentration was more on the presidential. So people will naturally want to ignore the gubernatorial, whereas they do not know that that is even where we should focus on for development of our nation. Because if from the state level we get it right, then there will be no pressure on the federal. You understand? And once there's no pressure on the federal, then we have achieved good governance.
So imagine 87 million Nigerians collected voters' card for this presidential election. And the winner of the election won by 8 million. So there's complete apathy. When you sum up the total votes that were all the candidates had, it's about 25 million. So where is the balance of almost 60 million or so?
As the electoral process runs its full cycle, the electorate is advised to be patient with the processes and never take laws into their hands or engage in any act that could scuttle the entire electoral process.
Nigeria is not two, it's just one. We cannot afford for the interests of one person to scatter this country. No. So we don't want anything. We want this country should be a country that those that are out there, one day they will run and come to take their refuge in this country. Nigeria is full of everything. I call it God's own country.
For the winners who have emerged so far, they are equally advised to be magnanimous in victory and embrace the good ideals of other contestants.
Unfortunately, the kind of democracy that we practice here in Nigeria is that the winner takes it all. That's the unfortunate part of it. The winner takes it all. I think that the fellow contestants also have what it takes to see how to move the country from the level that we are to the next level.
They should put their hand together with him to work for one Nigeria. Nigeria is one. We don't have it anywhere. It's only one. And he is ready. And I know that he will accommodate all of them to work for the betterment of this country.
Others are already setting the agenda for the president-elect with expectations for a government of national unity and frontally address the socio-economic challenges bedeviling the nation.
I want to advise the president-elect that it is important that he calls, just the way he did in the APC primaries when he won. He went around the other contestant that contested with him for the primary election. So I would advise that he moves round to his to see his fellow contestants. I have won. We have won. He shouldn't personalize it. We have won. Nigeria belongs to us. He should go and visit Atiku, visit Rabiu Kwankwaso, visit Peter Obi. They are aggrieved, yes, but he should use this opportunity to visit them. Come, let us build Nigeria. Whatever manifesto they have, let them see how they will harmonize it and see that they fix Nigeria with it. Nigeria belongs to all of us.
People think that election administration is best handled by professors. It is not. I have been observing elections across West Africa and Africa. I have observed elections in Kenya, Senegal, Togo, Sierra Leone, Nigeria. I have seen quite a lot of similar things happen. Sierra Leone came out of war And in a critical election that stabilized Sierra Leone till this moment, a woman, Christiana, a civil society activist, very unassuming, was made the chair of the electoral body. She delivered on a credible election. It is possible in Nigeria. We shouldn't just look out for big names with big certificates. We should look out for capable hands.
There is advocacy for all Nigerians, especially the youth, to avoid being instigated by politicians to any form of violence, but join hands with the president-elect to build a new Nigeria.
I'm begging on Nigerians not to give up hope, because we still have hope. If the 2022 amended Electoral Act gives us the legal stand, the legal backing and framework that ensures that even when things go wrong, we can still call things to order.
I think we need to do more of sensitization. The political parties will play a key role in this particular aspect, because when you talk about intimidation of voters, it comes from the political party supporters who believe that their candidate must win by at all costs. But if we understand that the politics we should be playing is all about the progressiveness of our nation, then you understand that it does not worth the blood of anybody. And when you talk about, when we still talk about voters being intimidated or harassed by thugs or whosoever, we also expect that the candidates and the political parties should also do more of enlightenment on their supporters and their agents, so that they will understand that it is not all about intimidating people to win. The people are resolute to use their PVC to always make that change.
Analysts urge Nigerians to continue to see themselves as brothers and sisters, irrespective of class or creed, tribe and religion.
Of course, elections will come and go, but Nigeria will remain our fatherland. The clarion call is for everyone to keep the peace and for the election management bodies to do a frank and thorough appraisal of the polls with a view to improving on electoral service delivery in the country. That's it for today's episode of 30 Minutes. Thank you for your time. I am Mitaire Ikpen.